Welcome in, I'm Artress, and in this video we're going to be going over Promo Blue-Black Sakazuki, the leader that replaced the banned Sakazuki from about a year ago if my timeline is correct. Before we go into the video, I do want to make a disclaimer that everyone watching should be aware of. If you're looking at the screen, you could probably see some of the Seven Warlords in this deck build, and there's a reason for that, and this deck is not good. I want to make that very clear for everyone watching. This is not how you're supposed to build Sakazuki if you're going to be building it a certain way. Mostly you're going to be wanting to build it like a cost reduction Navy package. However, I wanted to try out Seven Warlords. The reason being, we're towards the end of the 09 meta. We are about a month away from 10 hitting us, and I'm getting to that point where I'm just kind of messing around with decks that probably aren't even worth playing, with maybe weird combinations that might or might not be very viable. In this case, I don't think it is. But that being said, I was sitting there thinking about how strong the Warlord package is overall and why it's great in Doflamingo. But with that also, I noticed that the 8-cost Gecko Moria is also a Seven Warlord subtype for the character, which is very interesting that there isn't really a color combination of leaders that you can mix the Seven Warlords package and also 8-cost Gecko Moria. You have Rebecca, which she's not built for that, and Sakazuki, which he's not built for that, but he's more viable to play it in than Rebecca, in my opinion. So this video, we're going to be testing out the deck and seeing if we can get any wins with it, which will be a task and a half to try to get any wins with it. But overall, that's the reason why we're testing it out. Before we go over the deck list, please make sure to drop a sub if you haven't already. And if you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. It helps out the channel so much. Thank you all for the support. And additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, make sure to join the Discord. The link for that is in the description below. So going into the deck list and overall just the leader itself, it says activate main once per turn. You may discard one card from your hand with a Navy type and give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost for the turn. I don't really think that comes up too often, but I wanted to kind of build a Warlord package, but also have some potential removal, or at least spot removal if I need it. And so initially, I was thinking about Sengoku. We're going to kind of jump around this deck list where it makes sense, at least chronologically, where it started popping up in my head. I was thinking about Sengoku and how Sengoku is a Navy-type card that can pick out a Seven Warlord of the Sea. So it can pick out your standard blue Seven Warlords package, but it can also pick out 8-cost Gecko Moria. So that's what started this whole thing. And then I was thinking about, well, how do you add Navy into this to maybe be able to use your leader ability more often? And Tashigi is actually a pretty decent card here because Tashigi can actually find some Navy cards, including Sengoku, so you can actually find Sengoku and then use Sengoku to find your Warlords, or you can find Tashigi to find some of the Navy package that we have built in here. So let's go over that really quickly. We have 4 Borsalino, and this is a 7-cost, 8,000 power body that bottom decks a 4-cost or lower, which you have with Sakazuki ways to reduce the cost of your opponent's characters to be able to hit that threshold higher than 4, which one of the reasons this card isn't that amazing just as is because you're paying 7 to get rid of a 4, but by the time that this pops out, the 4 cost that is on the field is probably already done some damage at that point, and Borsalino just kind of is a little bit irrelevant in some stages of the game. But of course, being able to pair with your leader ability minusing by 1 or some other cost reduction cards in the deck, you can actually take care of higher cost cards than 4. And of course, we talked about Tashigi being able to find Navy type cards from the top 5 of the deck. But then, of course, we have 4 Jinbei. This is the main package in the Seven Warlords build, where you are able to play 1-cost 4 or lower Seven Warlords of the Sea type character other than this Jinbei from your hand, which is very important because you can actually cheat out quite a few bodies with it overall. Sengoku, we just talked about being able to find a Seven Warlords type card from the top 5. Very important because you can find your Jinbei, you can find your other pieces to play off of Jinbei. You can also find the 8-cost Gecko Moria, which is the whole reason why I built this deck. Then we have 4 of the Gecko Moria 4-cost that adds a Seven Warlords of the Sea or Thriller Bark Pirates type character card with a cost of 4 or less, other than this one, to your hand. So you can feel comfortable pitching out cards like your 2Ks that are Seven Warlords of the Sea, or if a character like Jinbei or Boa happen to be KO'd, you can grab them back from the trash. Then I am running 4 Dracula Mihawk, a 2K counter that has a lot of utility in this deck, being able to dig a little bit further. It draws 2, trashes 2, by only putting 1 Dawn underneath it. So oftentimes, I don't have too many great targets to play out with Jinbei. I have a Moria, of course. I have my Boa Hancock, which we'll get to in a second. But Mihawk is also a very good card to be able to play out with Jinbei, so you can filter your hand and get some of the bricks out and dig a little bit deeper in. Then I'm running 4 Buggy. This is a 1-cost searcher, basically not really a searcher, just stacks the top 3 of your deck. If you're needing a certain card at a certain time, you can play this down and see what the top 3 are, and then hopefully move one of the cards that you are trying to get closer to your hand from that point. It's also Seven Warlord of the Sea, so it is a searchable 2K off of Sengoku. Then we have 4 Boa Hancock. This is a blocker that is on play. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, then place them in any order on the top or bottom of the deck, then give up to one of your 7 Warlords of the Sea type leader or characters up to 1 Rested Dawn. Obviously, your leader is Navy type, so you can't put the Rested Dawn under your leader, but you can put it underneath other 7 Warlord type characters that you have on the field, which is very nice to be able to pump them up by 1. So you're essentially paying 3 for this character if you're doing girl math there. So overall, this card is one of the better cards in the deck, and I want to be able to find this to be able to play out with my Jinbei, which is very strong. Then we have 4 Suru here. This is a 2K counter, Navy 2K counter that basically on play just reduces a cost of a character by -2. So great utility to be able to get that cost reduction down for if you do want to get rid of some characters on the field. Then we're running 4 of the 8-cost Gecko Moria. On play, choose up to 1 cost 4 or less and up to 1 cost 2 or less character from your trash. Play one of them, then play the rest remaining. There's a world where you play the 8-cost Gecko Moria down, bring out a Jinbei. Jinbei brings out a Warlord from your hand, and then you can play out a Sengoku or Tashigi as the 2-cost or less rested. So you're able to get an additional search off and build up your hand size from that. Then I'm playing 4 Hina. I honestly am not sure about putting this card in the deck, but I needed some more cost reduction. And so I also wanted a little bit more of a Navy package to be able to not whiff off the Tashigi as much, and also be able to pitch some things for your leader ability if it comes to it. And it says on play, give a 20 of your opponent's characters -4 to their cost during this turn. So you can pair this with the Borsalino. So you go like maybe on 10, you can play out the Hina for 3, -4 to something. Use your leader ability to -1 additional. So you're also pitching another card, and then play a Borsalino to bottom deck a 9 cost. Sure, you are getting rid of 3 cards in that single turn. That is one problem with this deck that I have found in testing, is that your hand size goes down pretty low, but you are getting rid of things on the board, so you don't necessarily have to counter out as much because of that, or at least in theory. So that's the idea here with Hina. Then I'm running 2 Gravity Blade, another couple of Navy cards that also just get rid of a couple bodies on the board, which can be useful at times if you are being overwhelmed. And then finally, I'm running 4 Ice Age, a Navy type cost reduction that reduces the cost of a character by -5 during this turn. Overall, I don't think that this deck is great. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I think that this deck is just mostly a pipe dream, and this may give some insight to some people as to like how I start to play test and build a deck and kind of just see what works and what doesn't. And I figured it could be an interesting video to at least try out and at least maybe get some wins in the sim. I'm not expecting too much, to be quite honest, and we might actually just change some things as we go along, because I'm not too sure about the way that the build is, to be 100% with you guys. But overall, let's have some fun with it, take it into the sim, hopefully get some wins, and overall see how it does. Smoker is an interesting leader for us to go against. We are hopefully being able to spam the board out a little bit, and so Smoker excels at getting rid of 1 body a turn for the most part. So with the Jinbei and Boa, I think we are at least looking at a pretty decent hand here. The Tashigi is unfortunately a 1 cost, which will allow the Smoker to use his leader ability to -1 to the Tashigi and then pump himself up by 1,000. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and swing 5 a leader and then just stack 5 or stack 3 on and swing with Tashigi. Maybe bait this Smoker to swing into the Tashigi to get it off the field. I doubt they will, but we will see if that's the case. We didn't really have any other play to make anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. They did the right thing here. They used their leader ability first and then played out the Brook to KO the Tashigi, but I'm glad that the Tashigi is off the field here. Let's go ahead and play out the Jinbei into the Boa, and I'm not sure if I like this stack, but I don't know what else I could be looking for. I guess Mihawk is fine to grab here, but to be honest, like, it's not amazing. So we'll swing 6. We have nowhere to put our Dawn with the Boa, so we'll swing 6 and they counter out there. And hopefully we can at least keep one of these 2 bodies alive. I'm pretty sure we should be able to, at least, unless this other card it's not an Ice Age. I thought it might be an Ice Age, but it's not. That's good for us. So they will get rid of the Boa. We'll just take the 7 and cry a little bit. I think we can probably just swing 5 here. We might be able to use our leader ability, but we can also use Gravity Blade to get rid of the Tashigi and Brook. We're not establishing a body. We have a couple different plays. We could play the Gravity Blade, which I think is the better play here, but we can also play Borsalino. Of course, I think that getting rid of their 2 bodies is overall better for us, but they follow up with the Tashigi, minusing the cost and then trashing the Jinbei. They're playing it correctly, using their leader ability first before doing anything. We'll counter out because I don't want to go down to 1 quite yet. And also want to fill up my trash for Moria. So this turn, 7 here. What we can do is pitch one of the Borsalinos, because we're not going to play both of them, and minus the Tashigi by 1, so it's at 4, and then play out the Borsalino to bottom deck it. So now we have a pretty decent threat here. Of course, if they have an Ice Age and maybe something else to KO, which is pretty easy for them to do, then the Borsalino probably won't stick around, but at least we are able to answer their board, I suppose, as easily as they're answering ours, but we're not really playing out our Warlord package, which I guess we played it earlier, but they got rid of it. It's just smoker things. Next turn, though, we can play the Moria and probably get out the Boa Hancock. Look at the top 5, or I guess we can actually play Tashigi with it as well. Search the top 5, grab hopefully a 2K, or something else to pitch for our leader ability, and then also the Boa to stack the top 3 after that. Here, they're swinging 5, so we're just going to give them that. We're going to give them the Jinbei. I don't want to go down to 1, or at least have these 2 hits come through. They leave 8 up, which is a Moria, of course. I should have expected it. Hey, that means our Borsalino will at least survive a turn. That's pretty nice. Here, we can swing 7 at lead, swing 8 at lead, and then play out a Moria of our own. They do the block. That's great. Let's go ahead and play out the Hancock and Tashigi. Well, Tashigi... Actually, this is a mistake. I probably should have played the Tashigi first, so I can grab something. But hey, never punish. We have the sewer at the very end there. That was a mistake on my end. I probably should have just done the Tashigi search first and then the Boa, so I can stack the next 3 afterwards. I guess it worked out for us slightly, but we don't know what the next 3 are, unfortunately. So yeah, next time I'll remember to do that a little bit differently. This turn, I imagine that they might just try to get rid of the Boa and then push for game, which is a viable thing for them to do, considering I don't have too many counter in hand. We just have the 2 Surus. But if they do that and we're able to survive, if they don't math it correctly, then we do have a potential to push back at them for lethal, considering that Borsalino and Moria will probably push through, and then we can stack the rest on leader if that's the case. But of course, there's so many different things that Smoker can do this turn that it's kind of hard to just predict what they might end up doing overall. If they might just swing in like with the brand new. We've seen them do that last turn, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. They just go and play another Moria, which that's fine, I suppose. Borsalino filter their hand with the Sengoku. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried about this state of the board right now. They have 2 life, a blocker, and they filter their hand out. So we're not looking too good here. Let's go ahead and just take this. And I actually think I need this Boa to stay alive. So let's go ahead and counter with the 2Ks here. And then I feel like we kind of have to just push lethal, because we cannot survive another turn. So let's swing 9 at face. Swing another 9 at face. This one, I mean, they might be able to counter out of this one. If they don't, we can go 10-10. Or we can go another 9, maybe. Maybe 9 would be a little bit safer and see if they can counter out. I don't know. Okay, wow. They just straight up snap block. Okay, maybe this 11 will go through. Do we actually... Oh my god, they were bricked up. Okay, we got extremely lucky there. Wow, we got a win. That's insane. I didn't expect a single win, but I'll take it. Against Newgate, we love a good lore-accurate battle here. I think this hand is not awful. We do have a couple of searchers. We are going first, so we'll go ahead and lead with the Sengoku. Ooh, this is a tough one. I think we grabbed the Jinbei just to gain a little bit of tempo early game against Newgate. Moria would have been nice to grab there, but I think Jinbei is more important overall. Being able to get those 2 bodies out and pressure down Newgate with multiple attacks, I think, is more important than going tall. And maybe we can find another 8-cost Moria along the way. Who knows? They play out the Izo. They find their 9-cost Newgate, which means that they're probably going to be countering out of most swings that come their way because they want to be at as healthy of a life total by the time that they get to 9 Dawn. So that is very important for us to know, because that means we can at least maybe put some pressure on them. I don't know. It's kind of hard. Newgate's a tough one. You want to swing at their bodies for the most part. Okay, so we use our Tashigi to find a Suru. Pretty good there. We use the second one, and we grab the Sengoku. Not bad. We're not going to play it, though. We want to pressure them, ask for a counter out of hand. We'll go 6 into 6. This one, they take, and I don't blame them. To be quite honest, if I'm playing Newgate, I usually take most hits. If I have a 9-cost Newgate, sometimes I'll think about countering out. But for them, maybe they're okay going down to 1 life and playing the Newgate. Because if you're unfamiliar with how Newgate plays, when they play the 9-cost Newgate, they don't take any life for that turn. Otherwise, every turn they will take a life. And so, maybe this is... Atmos is a pretty important card for them, kind of helping with that game plan that I just mentioned. But that being said, if you're normally countering out and by the time you hit 9, you should be at around 2 life. So you can stop the bleeding around 2 life. But now that they have taken 1 life, they're going to stop the bleeding at 1. But they have an Atmos, which, by the way, Atmos is when attacking, you do not take any life at the end of your turn. So very good for their game plan overall. There's not much I can do about it right now. I can take care of it a little bit later. Anyway, we play out the Jinbei into the Hancock. We swing 6, which is good for us, but we're able to build out a little bit of a board here, and we can pressure this Atmos the next turn with the Jinbei, with the leader swing, and also the Hancock. And worst comes to worse, we can always just play out to the Borsalino and bottom deck the Atmos if they counter out of all the swings that we put towards the Atmos. This turn, I imagine that they might swing Atmos, maybe 5, okay, maybe more. The Haruda being able to put a Rested Dawn under a character or leader is very nice, of course. You don't see it too often, at least in older Newgate builds, but I think Newgate with the structure deck has been looking to add maybe Haruda more often, being able to swing higher up. It's definitely good against decks like Shanks, being able to put a Rested Dawn under another character so that Shanks has a harder time of countering out. And here, they're able to swing 7. We just have to take that one. They're not going to be able to take life because of the Atmos, and we will block, give them a 2k for the other 7 swing coming our way. They have a Fossa, which that is just a generic blocker for them. So we're going to go ahead and just swing at the Atmos, hoping that they let it go. But they have a fair amount of cards in hand and also a blocker, which there's a world where we just play out the Borsalino. I feel like the Borsalino is probably a better play. We have a Gravity Blade, which Gravity Blade can take care of a couple of things here. But honestly, I'd rather establish a taller body. I guess it just depends on how they counter out here. If they decide to let this go, then maybe, I don't know. I still am leaning towards Borsalino, but who knows? We'll see. Oh, I'm definitely leaning towards Borsalino now that they got the blocker out of the way. We'll see what they do here. If they counter out of the 6th, yeah, they do. So Borsalino is great because we can just bottom deck this Atmos now. And Borsalino is actually a really good card against Newgate because it swings naturally 2 and a 1 above. So they have to give you 2 cards every time it swings. And Newgate doesn't like to typically swing or counter out of life early. You may be a fool, but I still love you. Wow, I haven't seen this card ran in quite a while. If you have 3 or less life cards, you cannot add life cards to your hand using your own effects during this turn. Obviously, very specific for Newgate. And so they are stalling a little bit until they can get to their 9 Dawn turn so that they can use their 9-cost Newgate to stop the bleeding even further. I don't know if this card is necessarily amazing in Newgate. One of the things I really thought that Newgate does well is obviously build up a huge hand size by taking its life. And so when you're playing cards like You May Be a Fool, But I Still Love You, you are getting rid of a card to not draw a card. So I understand like it might be pretty decent for their game plan overall, but I don't think it's worth adding in my opinion. So we'll see. Okay, so they use their 7-cost Newgate from the starter deck to rest it and KO a 5,000 power body, my Jinbei. And then they just swung 8 into the Boa. We'll just let that go. We need to hold on to our counter to stay alive if they try to push for lethal at some point. Play Sengoku and we whiff. Unlucky. Here we're going to go Borsalino into the 7-cost Newgate. We just want to pressure it as best we can. Going and... Oh, they counter out here. I think I'm just going to have to swing really big into it, unfortunately. 10 into 8. And I don't know why I'm leaving this 1 Dawn up, but It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We know one of the cards in hand was a Newgate and the other one could have been a 2K for all we care. They can't math out of it, so that's fine for us. We could have also maybe played it a little bit differently and swung 9 with our Borsalino at the Newgate, and then leader ability, pitch a Hina, and then go Gravity Blade. But honestly, I think holding on to the Hina Gravity Blade for this next turn when they do play out their Newgate might be better, or at least a better use of it. Here, I feel like I'm in a really commanding position, even though I have like 1 body on the board. They have 2 cards in hand, and Newgate with a small hand size is definitely what I like to see. So here we can actually comfortably counter out of what they throw at us. If they go at the Borsalino, yeah, give them a 2K, pass the turn. We're going to play out a Hina, so we'll swing Borsalino into lead. They'll likely take it. I doubt they're going to counter out. At this point in the game, they should just be taking their life. They've stalled out long enough. We can play out Hina minus the Newgate by -4, and then play out Gravity Blade and get rid of the Haruta and the Newgate, establishing a body, which is very nice overall. Our hand size is awful, to be quite honest, which is to be expected with this leader, but at least it's 2 2Ks and a 1K here, so if they decide to push really hard at something, like maybe a Borsalino, there's a chance we can protect it. If they decide to go for my face, then I will just take that hit, because we're at 3 life. We've only taken 1 hit. They've been doing a decent job at like controlling the board, which I think is fair for Newgate. You kind of want to control the board if you can with your bodies. Like Ace is a great way to trade into the board. They haven't played a 7-cost Ace though, so unfortunate for them. They do play out the blocker Marco, which if we get another Borsalino, maybe we have a shot at bottom decking it. Otherwise, we just swing at face. And if they decide to block with it, which when it blocks, oh gosh, Otama, they're just trying to trade into this Borsalino. They're really scared of it. I have to let this one go, I think. I don't want to go down to 0 in hand. That's really unfortunate, but I guess that is what it is. Here we can go Jinbei into Moria, but we can also swing 6 with Hina. We can also swing more as well. We can go maybe 8-8. I think 8-8's fine, but also going 6 is fine as well, because they don't have too big of a hand size, and if we commit too much Dawn, then there's a world where they might, I don't know, block with the Marco, and then we can't punish the Marco nearly as well. We'll go 6, and this also is a better option here because we can play Jinbei, Moria, and then grab the Boa, and play out the Boa and see what our top 3 is. And that way we have a blocker, and then 2 2Ks in hand. I think that's probably the better option. 8-8 would have been, I think, fine as well, but being able to play out the Moria, grab out the Hancock, and then play this out, pretty good. Ooh, I think we want to stack the Borsalino to the top just in case. I feel like we can probably just push lethal next turn anyway, but the Moria is not really doing much. The 8-cost Moria is not doing much, and the Borsalino is probably better, but also we can probably just finish the game regardless without it, but just in case, you know, we'll put the Borsalino there. And then just swing a bunch of 6s is probably our best bet. So let's do that and see how it works out. We have what Newgate hates to see, and that is a board full of bodies that can just poke at him. He's got now 3 cards in hand, and not a lot to probably counter out with, which is very good for us. So the Ben Beckman to get rid of the Hancock, solid play here. I don't know if swinging this Ezo is necessarily the best thing for them to do, but I feel like I'm just going to let it go, because this next turn, if I play the Borsalino, all I can do is swing with 3 bodies anyway. I can go swing with my Jinbei, swing with my Moria, and then swing with my leader. And so I feel like that's no reason to have the Hina on the field. So let's play the Borsalino and get rid of that. Swing 6, 6, and then 1 more 6 to finish it out. And even if they counter out of all 3 of these, I'm still pretty comfortable to survive a crackback. With 3 life and their board is not necessarily very menacing, I think we're fine. Yeah, they just had Rayleigh and another 7-cost in hand. Definitely an interesting build. I don't hate it, but I feel like, I don't know, I'm squeaking out these wins when I probably shouldn't be. Foxy's a pretty strong leader right now, and honestly, I was thinking about doing a highlight video on Foxy. I feel like in the 09 meta, Foxy's pretty strong against Doflamingo, and it's good to see that somebody's practicing Foxy right now. Hopefully we can decimate Foxy and show them just the true power of Sakazuki. I'm kidding, of course. This deck is awful. I don't know how I'm winning with this trash. At least we have a Jinbei Hancock for the next turn to be able to establish a few things on the board. And then we have the ACOS Gecko Moria in case anything does fall to the wayside here. I usually will just take the first life because I want to build up a hand size, and stabilizing around 2 is fine here. I think with Sakazuki, how Sakazuki is normally built with, you know, the cost reduction package and the Navy stuff, you can actually feel pretty comfortable going down to 2 because you're taking care of the board pretty consistently here. Let's go ahead and play out the Jinbei and Hancock, and I don't know if I like this, so let's go ahead and just bottom deck it, because I mean, here's the thing. Gravity Blade is pretty strong against their deck, against Foxy, because you can get rid of 2 things on their board with the leader ability and then the Gravity Blade, but I don't feel like drawing into 2 Surus thereafter. So let's just take our chances with what we have coming up next. And we also have a Hancock for this next turn to be able to see what our top 3 is. So we bottomed it, and we're fine with bottoming it. And then they swing 7, we'll take it, we'll go down to 2 life. They swing 5 with the Porsche, we'll show them that we're awake and block with the Hancock, and then pass turn. Let's go ahead and get a Tashigi search off, and I guess we'll just grab the Ice Age, because that's the only thing we can grab. Not the worst thing in the world, but we already have one, so we don't necessarily need 2. Unfortunate, of course. We'll play out the Boa Hancock. We'll swing 5 first, rather, see what they do. And I feel like maybe I should put the Boa Hancock down and give a Rested Dawn to maybe the Jinbei, but I also don't think it matters too much if they let the Porsche go just like that. Let's kind of see what they give us with the 5. I don't want to invest too much, and regardless, I feel like if we play our Boa Hancock down, ooh, that's actually pretty solid. Tashigi, Borsalino. I don't mind that. Here, though, I probably should have played the Borsalino, or sorry, the Hancock out earlier so I can give the Jinbei Rested Dawn and swing like 6, 7 instead of 5, 8. 5, they'll probably give us a counter, which they did, and then 8 will be guaranteed. At least with 6, 7, they have to have a 2K, and then they'll probably take the 7. So I feel like that was probably an inefficient play on my part. So that's just me trying to, like, I think just try to go through this and see, okay, I know that this deck's not great. I'm making excuses. I made a misplay. As simple as that. We'll block with this because it's a free block. They use their leader ability to freeze the Boa Hancock and our leader, so we'll likely not be able to play anymore or swing with our leader, rather, anymore after this. Let's use the Tashigi to go ahead and grab the Borsalino, and I feel like going ahead and playing the Borsalino to get rid of one of their bodies is fine. We could have played the Moria, but we didn't really have any great Moria targets, to be quite honest. So I guess that's okay. This next turn, we can probably pressure... If they swing Foxy, we might be able to pressure it with the Borsalino. Okay, so they play out the Capote, which will freeze probably my... Yeah, I was going to say my Boa Hancock. Because Boa, without any Dawn investment, can swing. Because with the Foxy on my turn, all my characters are minus 1,000 power, which is very annoying. So it means I have to put a Dawn under Jinbei in order for Jinbei to swing. It means that I can swing freely with the Boa, but I can't because it's frozen. They play out a Pickles, which means I can't KO anything other than the Pickles on their side of the field. Pretty solid overall. I'll swing 7 into me. I'll just block that one because I want to bring it back with the Gecko Moria. I can't swing with it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So we'll get the free block off, and then we'll likely take this. Unless they like swing at the Hancock, then obviously we'll just like let it go. But if they go 7 to face, we'll take that, of course. Ooh. Hi, this is an interesting one. We can play Ice Age Borsalino. Let's just see. Let's swing 5 and see what they do if they give us a card here. We could go, depending on if they take this or not. Okay, so they take it. I feel like we go 9, or sorry, I guess it's 8 at lead. I was going to go like 8 at the Foxy, but they took the life, so that means they have an additional counter in hand, so that means we can probably punish them for taking that. They either have to give us 2 2Ks or go down to 1 life, and I doubt that they want to go down to 1 life. If they countered out of that, then I would swing my Borsalino at the Foxy, because they got rid of a card and they likely don't want to get rid of a body. They would have to give us another card, and so that kind of drains their hand and their resources. They take it, they go down to 1. We're actually in a spot where we could surprise lethal them. I think it's okay to go ahead and just play out the Sengoku over the Jinbei because they're going to freeze our Borsalino, and that means that our Hancock can, the one that's rested right now, can unfreeze and start swinging. This is actually a pretty good stack overall. And I mean, we don't have anywhere to put the Dawn, so it is what it is. Yeah, our board state's actually not awful for what it is. The only thing that could be a problem here is if they start resting some of these blockers. Like if they rest my Boa Hancock and start going in, then that's a problem. But we have a lot of 2Ks in hand. We're feeling comfortable. And depending on what they do this turn, we might be able to push lethal. But they have a lot of cards in hand. They're looking at 8 cards in hand overall, and they haven't really countered out too much. So they might have a bunch of 2Ks. And the fact that they have the Foxy negating everything by minus 1,000 power is a little bit of a problem, because it means that we can't necessarily calculate the math that well. I will go down to 0 because they cannot lethal me if they decide to go all in here. They won't be able to win. I can just counter out where I need to. We'll go ahead and give them a 2K. I'm aware that they might play the 3-cost restand event, which if they do, then we're still going to be able to survive, so it's fine. 6 in the lead, we'll give them a 2K. They freeze Leader and Borsalino. Okay, pretty solid. Now, if the Boas are able to attack this next turn, then I think we could push for lethal. Oh, never mind. Another Capote. This is going to be freezing one of our Boas. So that means we only have 2 targets that we can swing with, one of them being a blocker. Not amazing. Not amazing here. What we can do instead is we can Ice Age Borsalino, the Foxy, and get rid of the debuff on all of our characters, and then maybe clear out a Pickles. I think that's fine. We don't have much to do with the other 2 Dawn. Kind of awkward here. I don't want to push for lethal either. I don't think that's smart. So let's go ahead and just clear the board here and then just hope that they don't have a way to rest both blockers. But if they do, like if they were able to rest both blockers, they'd have to spend like Usohachi, which that's 6 Dawn, and then they'd have to swing like 9 with lead, and I am able to counter out of that. So I think we're okay. I think we're in a spot where we're actually looking pretty good here. The Borsalino came in pretty clutch. And even if they freeze the Moria, then they likely are not going to be able to take care of this Borsalino. Ooh, here's the Usohachi. Do they have another one? Oh, they're not even at 10 Dawn. So if they... Okay, so they'd have to be able to swing 7, which we're very comfortable with that right now. So no issues there. We can hit them back really hard too, which is very nice. Okay, cool. They're just going to spread it out. Looks like as evenly as possible. They're not playing another Usohachi, so I have a blocker, and then I can counter out of the rest of these. Okay. Okay, another Usohachi. They're just going to go 5-5-5, and I have the counter, so I think we might be able to win the crackback here. No issues whatsoever. Counter out 2. We'll counter out another 2K here. They freeze Leader and Moria. Yeah, okay. Well, they know we win on the crackback. To be honest, like I'm not sure if I enjoy these Borsalinos. They did some work in this matchup, but they kind of feel awkward otherwise. So let's mess around with this deck list a little bit more. So we're going to make a quick pivot here. I don't believe that this Borsalino is necessarily doing the job that I want. I found that if I'm going on the even curve, that it feels a little bit awkward if I have a Moria in hand and I have a Borsalino. Which one do I want to play? I'd rather play the Moria. So let's take this Borsalino out. Sure, we're going to be not hitting as much with our Tashigi, but I do think it's important to probably maybe try out the Boa Hancock, the 6 cost. There's a world where this card actually can do a little bit better than Borsalino in my opinion. Being able to bottom deck a 1 cost and then stun another. In theory, this can actually be pretty decent to be able to stop an attack from a bigger character and also bottom deck something using your leader effect or an Ice Age or even a Hina for that matter. You can get rid of maybe a 4, 5, 6 cost with this Boa Hancock and also stop something bigger. So let's try this out, take it back into the sim and see how it does with these adjustments. All right, we're having a rematch against Smoker. Not the same player, but maybe we'll see how the 6 cost Boa does if it comes up in this match. We've tweaked the deck a little bit here. We have a pretty decent start with the 2 Jinbeis in hand, and then being able to grab the Boa Hancock off the Sengoku search. Definitely great here. Like to see that. They swing 5, we'll take it. And then this next turn, we'll play out the Jinbei into the Boa Hancock. They play out the Hina just to be able to have a body on the board, I suppose. Not a bad play. Otherwise, a dead card in hand. We'll play out the Jinbei into the Boa Hancock. We like what we see because we have an 8 cost coming up, which is great here. They pitched out a Kobe, which that means that they might get it back at some point with maybe a Rebecca. They might like use a... Okay, so using the leader ability on the... Okay. Speak of the devil. Okay, so they're going to use their leader ability on the Boa Hancock, minus it by 1. Play out the Rebecca, grab the Kobe, play out the Kobe from the trash. Kobe, of course, KOing a 3 cost at the cost of pitching a card from hand. And then they got rid of the Hancock, swung 5. We're going to counter out of both of those because I don't want to go down too low in hand size. Or life, rather. Our hand size is looking pretty low right now. Sengoku to grab the 6 cost Boa Hancock. Tashigi to grab the Suru. And then we can go ahead and play a swing 6 into 4. We'll swing 5 into 5 and see what they do here. And then if they block, then we go Sengoku and swing 5 with the Sengoku. Okay, so they block, swing 5 into 5. This will likely give us another card out of hand. Unless they just let it go, which they might. It could be a good thing. Okay, they let it go. That's good for us. We've taken back the board, although we have a bunch of weenies, which we're not playing Houndblaze, which would be maybe a decent addition to the deck so that we can pump up our Sengokus into Shigis. They go ahead and they play Tashigi out to KO our Trash, rather, our Jinbei, and they swing 8 at lead. Okay, we're just going to have to take that one, unfortunately. We are at 8 Dawn, and our Moria is not amazing, but it's not awful either. We can go ahead and play the Moria out. We can play out the Jinbei, and then play out a Hancock from the Jinbei. But then also a Buggy is the other card that we get rested. So maybe we should have done the Jinbei effect first. I definitely clicked the wrong sequence there. Could have done the Jinbei into the Hancock, and then I think Hancock would have been able to see what we could get on the top 3 and then bottom or top it, and then the Buggy would have seen the next 3. So I think that's how the sequencing might work. I might be wrong on that, but regardless, we're keeping it where it's at. So we are okay with where we're at right now. We reestablished a board. All they have is a Tashigi, but they are at 5 life and we are at 2. So we have a lot of work ahead of us here. There's a chance that we might be able to keep some of the board. Also, maybe not. Who knows? Who knows? They have 3 cards in hand, though, which is looking pretty good for us, which means if they decide to tap this Tashigi, I'm feeling pretty good about it being KO'd the following turn. Smoker to minus our Boa. Are we getting another... Is this... Okay, a Moria into Rebecca into Sengoku. Sengoku will, I guess, fix their hand a little bit, and then they'll probably bring out the Kobe to pitch another card from hand to KO the Boa. But they're down to 2 cards in hand, which is not amazing for them to be at, but of course we're going to have to counter out of these. Give them a 2k, and then I suppose another 2k. I don't want to go down to 1 life, especially when their board looks that big. Okay, that's a misclick. Buggy into the Kobe. Didn't mean to click that. It meant to be Buggy into the Sengoku. Either way, it's going down. We'll go 5 into the Kobe. We'll see if they counter out or... Okay, they just block. That's fine here. We're going to go Moria into the Tashigi. And honestly, I want to get rid of this Kobe, but I don't know if playing a Moria is the best bet. It could be fine. Maybe freezing the Moria is good. And then I'm going to bottom deck one of my Buggies because I want to get these 1 cost off the field. They are empowering the Smoker, and if there's a way to get rid of them, I don't really care about Buggy too much. I think Sengoku or Tashigi are better 1-drop targets for our 8-cost Moria. I just want to get it off the field. And they're not doing it for me, so Hancock will have to do it instead. This will at least stop an attack, which is good for us. Let's see what they do, though. They have 3 cards in hand. Okay, Ice Age. What do they have? They have 2 cards in hand. What's... Did my opponent just draw the nuts? With 5 cards? I haven't even hit their life yet, and they're, like, getting everything that they need, which is pretty good. Oh my god, another Moria. It's probably a Rebecca into a Kobe, then pitching out the... Oh my god, this is insane. Sengoku to pitch... Oh, they can't even do the Sengoku because they have to pitch, I think, 2 cards, right? 2 cards to draw 3? Yeah. Yep, there we go. There's a Moria. Goodbye, Moria. Okay, well, at least we can swing into some of their board. We'll go 2 into 1. We'll go 5 into 4. This goes through. What do we grab? What do we grab? I guess the Hina is the only option we have. We don't have too much that we can do here. We're getting beat up real bad. We're getting beat up real bad here. Okay, so we can go and play out the Moria to give us the Hancock to play over And then we can play another Sengoku to at least draw something, maybe get like a 2K. Okay, we get a buggy off the top. That's great. Then we can stack the top and see if we like it. I think the Hancock is fine. Being able to freeze their Moria is pretty decent. We'll put a Dawn underneath the Hancock. We'll go 6. Not that it matters. And then we'll go 9. And they take both of them, of course. Here, they have to get through the Hancock. And, I mean, they're probably going to be able to push through anyway, because we only have 2K, or a 2 and a 1 in our hand. Another Ice Age. What do they have here? Oh, they just drew the nuts. Okay, well, GG. The opponent just drew really well, and our deck sucks. So it is what it is. We tried our best. I suppose we go on to the next one. After that beating from the Smoker, I'm not so sure about going against Shanks here, but I mean, we got to do it. We got to try this out. So the Boa Hancocks might actually be good against Shanks because it can freeze their 10 cost. Hey, food for thought there. We do have the Jinbei into the blocker Boa when we do hit the 5 Dawn turn. So that's pretty good. I guess this next turn we can just swing 8 into lead because we don't have anything else to do. And this is going to be difficult for them to counter out. Shanks likes to counter out as much as possible in the early to mid game so that by the time they hit 10 Dawn, they're at a healthy life total. Even if their hand isn't amazing, like they might be down to like 4, maybe 5 cards. Their hand size, or their life size rather, is more plentiful or bountiful. And so, yeah. We are going to have to counter out of the second one. I don't want to go down to 2 against Shanks so early. Them swinging 5 with the Uta is kind of annoying here. They could be cheeky and minus to the Sengoku, but that's fine. They don't. We will go ahead and play out the Jinbei Boa Hancock this turn. But we'll swing 5 and ask for counter. They give it to us in the form of Rayleigh. Really good here. Ooh. Okay, so this next turn we can actually play the Boa Hancock out. And then stack up so that we can draw into the blocker and then draw into the Jinbei. I think that's actually a pretty decent play set up for the next, or like a following turn here. Uta will attack into the Sengoku. We want Sengoku in the trash, so we get repeat value there. This Lucky Roo is kind of annoying because it will KO any of the bodies we have on the board right now. So I actually think we have to use our Ice Age here. I don't want to get rid of a Suru. I want to bottom deck this Lucky Roo, so we're going to Ice Age, prevent the Uta from attacking, not that it matters, and then bottom deck the Lucky Roo. We'll swing 5. They're going to use their leader ability. We'll swing 5 again, and then we're going to swing 6 with the Boa Hancock. So that way they at least have to give us a 2K or at least take a life here, which is really good. So we want to pressure them with as many swings as we can. Going wide against Shanks is usually a really good option. 9 into Hancock. Yeah, we'll let this one go. It's not worth protecting. Here we can do a follow-up play. We can go 8 into 6. See what they do here. Oh, okay. So they use the leader ability, give us a 2K. We'll play out the Jinbei into the Hancock. Hancock, I actually don't mind this Ice Age here because the Ice Age we can do a repeat and get rid of the Yasop the following turn. And I think it's actually good to swing 8-8 here. Really awkward for Shanks to have to counter out of. It requires 2 cards each time. So they take 1. They're down to 2 life already, and they might take this one. Sometimes Shanks is bricked up. Okay, so they give us 3 1Ks. They are bricked up. That is really good information for us to know. This turn, they are going to play their 10-cost Shanks that they searched out at the beginning of the game. And what can we protect? We can protect the Boa. We can protect the Boa at least. This Jinbei, I think, is worth saving, maybe. Actually, it doesn't really matter if we save it or not, because we're going to have to counter out if they go 6 into base anyway. Ooh, here we can go Hina, -4 to the Yasop, prevent the Shanks from attacking, and then bottom deck the Yasop. Oh, that's actually a really good play. They use leader ability on our leader, so we'll swing 5 into 5 with Jinbei. We'll swing 7 into lead, and it's looking pretty good. They're at 1 life. Oh, a second Shanks does suck, which means both of these tapped units will be going down, but that means we might be able to pressure them here. We can go 9 with our Boa and see what they do. And then if they take this, we just go all in with this, the leader swing. We don't worry about the Hina at all. And we'll go 11 at lead. They might have it, they might not. We'll see. They pitched 3 1Ks a turn or 2 ago. So yeah, wow. 2 Goldie Roger and a Building Snake left. We played it pretty well, I would have to say. These Boa Hancocks actually might be a little bit better than Borsalino. I think in the situation where if Borsalino was in place of Boa for this game, I don't think we would have pulled out ahead like we did. Yes, the benchmark of tests for me is going against Nami. I think if a deck that I'm like testing around with can beat Nami, then I think it might be worth testing a little bit more with that deck. So let's see if we're able to beat Nami with Sakazuki. We actually have a decent chance if we're able to flood the board with our 7 Warlords. Sengoku to grab the Boa Hancock 6 cost. Actually a pretty good card in this matchup because it can bottom deck a lot of their 1 costs like the Kayas, can bottom deck the Nami. Unfortunately, we don't have an answer to this Nami right now. So they will be able to get a search off with it. It's unfortunate, but what can you do? Here, I think it's just better to play out the Hina and not swing. They have 1 Dawn open, and the 1 Dawn usually represents like a Desert Spada to look at the top couple of cards of their deck and stack it how they like. And I don't want them to have that advantage, so we're not going to swing. We're just going to put a body out and then pass. Here they use their Nami to grab, I'm sure, something great. A Love Beam is not bad. Not the worst thing in the world here. We'll just swing Sengoku into it, and then swing Hina into it, and then swing... I mean, I'm sure that they're probably going to let it go with the Sengoku, but in case they don't, we'll swing Hina and then Leader. We're just trying to get rid of this Nami. I think that's really important. And this turn, it might be better to play out the Mihawk so that we can start digging into our deck a little bit further on the following turns. 2 into 1, they're thinking about protecting this, which is very interesting. Sometimes I feel like it might be worth it if it only costs like maybe 1 event or maybe a 2K. Just depends. But I mean, I have other bodies that can swing into it, so I don't think it's worth. Love Beam, I don't think is worth saving because you're not drawing a card off of it, and I'm just going to swing into it anyway, again, with the Hina, and then if that doesn't go through, my Leader, I don't know. Sometimes Nami's just really tunnel hard on protecting this thing, which I don't think is... Oh my god, are they actually protecting it? Usopp's Rubber Band to give it +3. Well, what else are they going to do to protect it? What the heck? This is insane. Gavel. Okay, Gavel's not going to protect it. That was a mistake. This is a play mistake on my opponent's part. Gavel only counts against, or counts for the Leader, rather. You are able to get a +4,000 for the Leader, not for characters. They might be just using it to pitch, but they're not able to save this Nami. I think in their head, they were thinking, oh, I can protect the Nami long enough to just kind of bounce off all these attacks. Instead of going face, it goes at the Nami. It's not quite how it works, though. They do have a couple of Dawes Bones, which that's actually decent because they were able to like pitch those cards to get these back. Yeah, that's, I mean, okay. So even though they made that play mistake with the Gavel, they don't necessarily get super punished with it because of the fact that they have the Mr. 1 Dawes Bones to get both of those events back. I think it's fine there. Here we can go 5, 5, and 6. I'm not too scared about White Snake. I can't even remember the name of it. That's how not scared of it I am. We'll go 5 with our Leader. We'll also go 6 with the Mihawk to get a card draw 2, trash 2 off. I think it's fine because what we need to do is be able to set up for our Moria turn. And so being able to pitch something out with that is really good here. So we'll draw. Oh, this is actually really good. Sengoku. We can pitch a Sengoku, and we can also pitch maybe a Mihawk. I think that might be fine. Or it also might be fine to pitch a Hina or a Moria. Honestly, any of these are fine. I might want to hold on to the Sengoku since I already have one in the trash. So I'm just setting up the Moria for the next turn. And then this turn, we go and play out the 6-cost Boa Hancock, freeze a Mr. 1, not that it's going to attack, and then bottom deck the other one. So that their deck size is a little bit thicker. Overall, we want to add more cards back to their deck because they're trying to mill out. And this Boa Hancock actually kind of goes against the Nami game plan. Pretty cool overall. If they play out a Kaya, we might want to just forego playing a Moria and then bottom deck the Kaya with the Boa. We do have options, so that's nice to see. This turn, we will counter out. We're going to keep this Mihawk alive. It's doing a good job overall. And so we'll just counter out with a 1K. I always want to keep on to, or hold on to my 2Ks because of the fact that sometimes Namis will run 1 or 2 copies of Rush Usopp. And if I am left with not enough 2Ks to protect myself, then that could be a real problem. So I think it's better to just ditch the Sengoku here and there. Gavel, okay, Gavel will just protect him from this attack. With them only having 2 cards in hand, I think it's fine to go ahead and just swing 6. Usually I like to swing 7s, but I do want to play out my Moria, so I think that's important. And if they protect this, then they might tap or get close to tapping out with small hand size. Okay, so they play out Deathwink. They only have 1 Dawn left, which means we are comfortable to swing 5 here. Because if they had 2 up, then I don't want to give them that free draw and then +1. Always feels really rough. And we'll go 8 into lead with the Boa. We're just kind of like testing their hand size or testing what's in their hand right now. It's kind of a weird game you have to do against Nami. Here, we're going to play out the Moria. We're going to forego playing out the 1 cost. I want to fill up my board with attackers that just naturally attack into Nami. So we'll play out the Jinbei from trash, which will bring out the Mihawk. I just mentioned that I want to keep as many 2Ks in my hand as possible, but we can dig with our Mihawks to be able to find more 2Ks if that's the case. And we don't need to be able to play this Moria, this last Moria, so we're fine pitching it. At this point, we should just be putting Dawn on the characters that are already established on the board, and then start pushing really hard at face. I think minimum 7 with any of these attacks, unless of course they did play this Kaya, so it could be worth, playing out the Boa Hancock and bottom decking the Kaya. Okay, so now to me it doesn't make sense to do so. I think since they have 2 Kayas, we can't prevent, like, at least one of them. If they want to bounce it back, they will be able to. So I think having just 1 attack first to see what they do is probably the best bet. 5 and 5, we just have to protect this. Unfortunately, I have to. I want to keep my board as full as possible here. So let's lead with the 7 from Mihawk and just draw and see what we get. Double Hancock. We don't need 2. And this blocker might come in handy a little bit later in case we need to block her up. Oh, so they run Overheat, which we saw them pitch a little bit earlier. So they bounce back the Kaya, which means I think we should actually just play this other Hancock down so that we get rid of the other Kaya in case they have like a Snake Dance to be able to bounce it back. Here, we're just going to swing 5 and see what they do. If it is a snake, or white snake rather, then we have a Dawn for to put on our leader and then put on our Mihawk. Usually, I don't know, against Nami, I always test out different things, but against Nami, I like to swing high to low. But when they have not a lot of Dawn left, and they don't have a lot of cards in hand, I think it's fine to just go from low to high. Because like when you go from high to low, you're baiting out like the bigger counter events from them and having them use up their Dawn first. So, ooh. Gavel bouncing back the Mihawk. That's rather unfortunate, but here I think it just means we go 7. Well, maybe we'll bait first. Let's see if we bait with the 9, because if they take this, we could probably put the rest on to the Boa and swing a big 10 and see what they do. But here, if they decide to counter out, then maybe, just maybe, we don't push that last life. Like, if they counter out of this one, we can swing 7 with our lead and then 8 with the Boa. But if they counter out, which it looks like they do, they have a Snake Dance. Good thing we bottom the other Kaya. Pitching out the Mr. 2 Dawsbones. Let's swing 7. If they take this, then we swing 8. If they counter out, we do not swing with the Hancock, because that last card could be a trigger, which gets them closer to winning the game. And then we can always just finish the game next turn. They just didn't have it. They had a Usopp's Rubber Band of Doom as the last one. I don't think they would use the trigger. I think here they would just take the card and then use it to go +2 and then Kaya pitch to at least stay alive, but that doesn't win them the game either. They would have survived, but yeah, I think just flooding the board is the answer here. All right, no more half-baked ideas, I swear to God. Okay, so no, honestly, I think it's kind of fun to do stuff like this where you kind of test out what works, what doesn't. Even if it's not very viable in a meta that's very much Dofi-centric, I think that this deck, it's not supposed to be... It's not supposed to be good. It's not supposed to be like the optimal way to build Sakazuki. That's the whole point. I just wanted to see the Sengoku grab a Gecko Moria and then Gecko Moria play out a Jinbei. And I think we accomplished it. I'm pretty happy with that, at least. We got some wins in the sim. Not that it matters, but, it it feels not awful. I could have lost everything, and that would have been really bad. But hey, we got a couple wins here. For the most part, I like to actually bring decks or deck lists to the channel that are playable and might not be well recognized, but could be good. And I also like to cover meta decks, of course, as well. But I think with decks like this, there might be some fun that we can have in some metas where, you know, the meta's about to be over and people are probably already bored of everything that's already out there. Of course, thank you guys for watching. As always, let me know what you guys think about this type of video. Maybe we'll do some more fun stuff like this in the future. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.